Acclaim is back! Well, kind of. I don't think it's strictly the same Acclaim from back in the day. This is more of an Atari thing where someone has bought the rights to the name, but whatever! Acclaim is back! After 21 years of being relegated to the dustbin of history and little more than a name on some dusty unsold copies of Showdown Legends of Wrestling, they're returning! Now publishing a fistful of indie titles as announced in a public domain footage-filled nostalgia-poking digital display. And now, here am I, a weirdo you never heard of, talking about it, as today I talk about the big Acclaim Showcase! So, this isn't going to be a reaction video, this is going to be me going through aspects of the presentation, my thoughts on some of the games that were announced, and I'll be honest with you, this isn't what I was expecting. I was expecting this was going to be something to go on longer than it did, but no, it was efficient, it was glossy, it was a quick in and out job, effectively done, and was oddly nostalgic in a way that I'm not entirely sure why it was so nostalgic. Maybe it was seeing the Acclaim name for the first time since I was a teenager, maybe it was the channel hopping aesthetic, I really don't know, but there's something about this that poked the lizard part of my brain which made me say, this is pretty neat. Of course, the presentation of the presentation isn't everything. The games are the big selling point, and I'll be honest, again, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting some bigger announcements. No shade on what was announced, but we'll get onto those in a moment. But I was expecting, or rather there was a part of me dreading, that we were going to get an announcement of some big franchise from their past coming back, only that they'd be doing it very wrong. Like they bring back Turok, but now it's a third-person battle royale, or they're going to bring back Burnout, but now it's going to be a mobile game where you smash up your neighbourhood, or they're going to be doing BMX XX as a family-friendly Fortnite clone, but with BMXing, and our first crossover is going to be with Nicki Minaj and that Korean Demon Hunter movie that came out the other week. But no, Acclaim is now an indie publisher now. Honestly, if I had the money, I'd be buying the rights to some forgotten publishing label and doing much the same. But with that said, let us get to the indie games. First off, there was Grid Beat, a rhythm-based dungeon crawler. The idea here is that you're playing a hacker trying to hack into goodness only knows what, with the hacking being shown as a dungeon crawler, where you have to explore, upgrade, defeat baddies, seemingly like Crypt of the Necromancer or High Cadence of Hyrule, where you have to do this to a beat. Only with an aesthetic which looks kind of Tron-like, kind of Atari-like, with that visual flair that was really big in certain games in the early 2000s. The game looks neat. I don't think the trailer does it that much justice, as it doesn't show the rhythm part off too well, but it's an interesting one nonetheless. Next up came Basketball Classics, a retro-inspired basketball game where you do basketball. I don't have much to say here because I'm not a big fan of sports games. I've always preferred playing sports in real life than playing them in video games, but the fact you can play as teams and players from different eras is neat, but I don't think this is for me. Wait, hang on, this game came out in 2019? What? How is it a reveal then? What? Ground Zero Hero is a 2D survival game, you know, like the vampire survival thing. I will admit that whole subgenre of gaming is one that's just totally passed me by, which is odd given just how much of a twin-stick shooter-head I am, but the gimmick here is that your character can mutate and gain new powers and abilities as time goes by. Neat. I wish there was more to say here. I like the art style. In places it has a neat, early Matt Groening from The Simpsons look to it, like the My Life in Hell era for him, which is neat. It all looks fine. Not sure if this one's for me, but still, one that I wouldn't mind trying. Pixel Washer is an odd one. The idea here is that you're a pig called Pixel who runs a power washing business. Your job is to simulate power washing for fun, profit, and relaxing. Think of a less labour-intensive version of Power Washing Simulator, I guess. The game looks cute. I like the wide variety of objects and scenes you're getting involved with, but I think this is one of those games that I'd have to try or see more of to just get a better feel of it. Talaka is probably the most interesting game and the game that interested me the most. Like, of all the games featured here, I think this is the one that I'd be most inclined to buy and play. Which is really saying something, as I'm generally not a fan of the roguelike platforming thing. I generally have found that after a certain point they get a bit too demanding to be fun for me. This one features some rather neat hand-drawn art, and the description from the standalone video says that it is inspired by Afro-Brazilian mythology and has branching narratives and moral choices. How well or not this stuff hangs together, I really don't know, but I love the way that it looks, the gameplay looks solid, and I hope the platforming doesn't get too intensive, because like I say, sometimes these games could get a little bit too demanding to be fun for my part, and the reveal trailer that they had for it, the sound effect quality sounds a bit scrunchy to me. I just think that might be something lost in the processing of it, but we'll see how it all comes together. Toss Down. I have no idea what this one is. It looks like a platforming version of Paperboy, but you're doing general deliveries rather than just delivering papers. And everyone is trying to blow you up for some reason. Looks fun. I can't lie, it does look fun. I think this is a game which would be really killer as a multiplayer game. Could be very neat, really don't know what else to say about it. Speaking of having no idea what's going on, The Prisoning, Fletcher's Quest. What? Like, the standalone description for this says that it's about a game developer who's had a breakdown after burning out during a project, and you need to help them escape their mental prison. It looks very meta. Could be fun. There is a demo out now that I might well try in the not too distant future. Soundtrack seems very solid. Art style is very expressive. There is a part of me though that is getting a bit sick of meta commentary on game development, as it seems to be the same handful of jokes done over and over and over again. But this is starting to get into a discussion more about meta commentary and postmodernism, which I don't think is a discussion for this video series. With that said, looks could be fun, maybe I'll try the demo. Hyper Yuki Snowboard Syndicate looks like a cross between SSX and Jet Set Radio. Looks great, brilliant visuals, I have no complaints in that regard. It has been a long time since we had a game like this coming out. I mean, yes, there's been some other snowboarding games over the past few years, but they've all aimed for a more realistic kind of aesthetic, and nothing quite this out there, and this stylistic, and this wacky. Like, aside from the basketball game from earlier, this is the one that feels more like a classic Acclaim game to me, or rather a game that they would publish, even if they are just like a regional publisher of it. I can't talk much about it because this is one of those games where it is fairly self-explanatory. It's a snowboarding game with some really fantastic visuals, a game that I'd love to try, but looks solid, looks good, no complaints. And finally comes the one last thing reveal, that being Katana Naut, a 2D horror-inspired action roguelike where you travel through a space station filled with squishy monster zombie things that look straight out of Dead Space. Much like Takala, I'm not generally speaking a fan of these kind of games, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't like the looks of it. The game is out now and there is a demo as well. Maybe I'll pick it up when I get some money together, but still, it does have a very distinct flavour to it and a very distinct look to it. Everything up until this moment had been very colourful and bright and vibrant, and now we get something a little more grim, dark and nasty, so I do like there's more variety here than maybe you'd get in other indie game presentations. Still, very good, no complaints, I would like to try this one. With that said, there we have it, 9 games announced, well, 8 it turns out was one of those came out in 2019, but to be honest with you, even though I'm not going gaga over all of them, this is still a very solid lineup. I'm sure that there were people out there hoping for some more heavy hitters from Acclaim's past to show up, but remember, Acclaim was always more of a publisher than they were a developer, and all those games that you have nostalgic memories for, well, they're probably in the hands of other studios that, well, have gone dormant at this moment in time, sadly. But with that said, it's early days. You might see those games in the not too distant future, or games like them. Who knows? I will say that if this was any other given indie game showcase, everything would be fine. Everything would be great. I don't think there would be many complaints as there is. But still, all the games that have been announced here do look interesting to one degree or another, even if they're not necessarily games I'd be interested in. And there's at least a handful of games here that I'd love to try at some point in the future. Let me know if you saw this presentation, let me know if any of these games take your fancy, let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll get into some kind of discussion. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye!
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!